Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. Okay, we're starting off with a little coffee chat or tea time right now. Many of you are having breakfast as we speak, and if you were making toast and noticed a little mold on the bread, are you the type to toss the whole loaf or peel off the mold and plop it in the toaster? The heat will kill the remaining fungus, right? And milk that's gone bad, now you need to toss that out. But it's hard to tell if bacon or sausage ever goes bad, even if it was way past the expiration date. And what exactly does that expiration date really mean? At any rate, approximately 48 million people a year suffer from foodborne illnesses. UT physicians sent over Dr. Mackenzie, a microbiologist with UTHealth, to help us figure out what we can still eat and what to toss. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I think so many people don't realize what they're doing, and that's the reason why those foodborne illnesses happen. And oftentimes when they get those illnesses, they're like, I don't know why I feel bad, because it's microscopic.
That's quite correct. And quite often it's the way that they handle the food.
Yeah.
Especially if they're dealing with raw meat. They start off with raw meat or chicken, and you've got a wine glass there, you're chopping up your raw meat, you're sipping from your wine glass,
yeah.
You're going to your cell phone.
Which I should probably do right now, right?
Yeah, okay. Well, you knock yourself out.
I love a screw top.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But anyway, okay, so.
Yeah, you're touching your cell phone, you're touching the TV remote, things like that, and you're just spreading those
cross-contamination.
Cross-contamination.
Yeah. So with that said, we got to follow the 4 C's, so we have to do that first, and that's to clean your hands and clean your surfaces.
Absolutely. You want to clean your hands 20 seconds before you wash. I like to take off wedding rings, engagement rings, things like that. And I also like to take off my wristwatch.
You do know that's how wedding rings go missing, don't you?
That is, but it's better than having a sixth spouse.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so take off all those things and make sure your surfaces are clean before you even start.
And
your
take
hands
off
are
a
clean.
jacket like this. You don't want to be dragging your sleeves through any kind of raw meat or anything like that. So I like to get into a Hawaiian shirt or a t-shirt and cook that way.
Yeah.
Or
we had a guest on not long ago, just cooked in his underwear.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yes. Okay. Right. Also, how we contain things, because sometimes we just get a container out, we'll just throw everything together.
Yeah. I don't really like doing that. I like taking things directly from the fridge, and if it's like a packaged chicken or something like that, working directly in the sink. So that way you can actually contain everything within the sink while you unpeel it. And you can have a trash can like this right next to the sink, so you can take your container wrapper, your wrapper for your chicken, and put it directly in here and move that directly into the trash.
Yeah, because that's the reason why a lot of us leave it laying on the counter, right?
And you're not wanting to drip things all over the floor, especially if you get small children that are crawling around there or pets that are licking things up.
As a microbiologist, you can walk into spaces and actually, I don't know, spray luminol or something and figure out all the areas where we have all this stuff.
And people have done these experiments where they've actually watched people preparing things like chicken, and they've ended up looking at where all the microorganisms go, and they go everywhere.
Wow.
You know, so you really want to try and contain things. When I'm working, I like to work in the sink.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when I have to go chop things up, I like to have a dedicated chopping board. Okay, so like here, I was actually just down in Target the other day, and they had these great chopping boards. So they've got red for meat, yellow for chicken, blue ones for fish.
And they're not wood, so stuff can't hide in these.
They're microwavable, and there's a soft, smooth surface which you want to chop on, and there's a rough surface you don't want to chop on that, because microorganisms get caught in there.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
Okay, when it comes down to the potluck at Christmas time, I'm going to eat what you bring, because I trust you.
Well, I'm probably going to bring gumbo.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I really trust you now. Okay. The other area that we run into trouble sometimes is cooking food thoroughly, because we'll say, I don't know, I just put it in there for the suggested time, and because ovens are different and the whole bit, that suggested time might not be correct.
Yeah. So these are great things. So what these are it's like a thermometer that sits on the outside of your fridge. You can put this probe directly into the food, and when it gets to the right temperature, an alarm will go off to tell you that it's reached the right temperature. Yeah. So for potlucks, things like that, casseroles, stews, 165 degrees is really the temperature you want to be heating it to kill all microorganisms.
And then control your spatter, because again, that's where those hidden...
Absolutely, control that spatter. And if you're cooking food, don't let it get below 140. From that range, from 140 all the way down to 40 is called the danger zone. And if you think the temperatures of most houses in Houston, they're 75 to 82 degrees. They're right in there, a perfect temperature for organisms to grow. Yeah. So when you cook something, once you've cooked it, either eat it and put it in the fridge or freeze it. Don't leave it lying out to cool down through that danger zone.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I know traveling around the world, a lot of cultures will leave stuff, they'll cook it in the morning and leave it all day, and we snack on it all day.
That's a bad idea. I don't recommend it at all. That's a kind of It's just a great environment for microorganisms to grow. They've got a doubling time of 20 minutes or so. They can build up really quickly in numbers, and a lot of them will actually produce the toxins into that food that will make you sick. It's not the microorganism itself, it's actually the toxins they produce that make you ill.
Okay, so with that said, we have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
How long can meat last after the sell-by date? There's some confusion between the sell-by date and the expiration date, but it says sell-by this date. How long do we have? And I guess it depends on what we're dealing with.
For what you're dealing with, let's say it's meat, you've got 1 to 2 days, okay? You can kind of fiddle that a little bit. If you've got something like, let's say the sell-by date or the expiration date was today, you can put it in the freezer directly and it'll last much longer. It's like putting it in a kind of suspended animation. Okay, but once you take it out, put it in the fridge, defrost it, then you've still got the 1 to 2 days.
And then there's those things like bacon. To me, I'll look at it and go, when did we buy that again? But like bacon and sausage, which actually have some, like the salt will help things last longer.
That's
but,
right. You know,
also
some
like
of these
eggs.
preservatives, eggs. So these are eggs that I've actually brought in. So when I'm doing cooking and I'm doing things like making mayonnaise or things like that, or if I like real runny eggs, if I'm frying them, I like to use what are called pasteurized eggs. Okay, these are pasteurized eggs here. So they've kind of been sterilized so that they're going to be safe for longer and there's not going to be microorganisms in them. You don't want to get that confused with pasture raised. So there's pasteurized and there's pasture raised. Okay. Pasture raised is just, they're out there in a field.
Yeah, free range.
Free range. Pasteurized, they've actually been sterilized. And you can take those eggs, put them in smoothies with a banana and milk, and it's a great workout shake.
Okay.
You know?
If I have cheese, and like there's a piece of mold on it or a piece of bread that has some mold, but the rest of it looks fine to me.
Okay.
Can I just pinch it off and serve it to my son, or is that bad?
Cheese is not a problem, okay? As long as it's that kind of block cheese, cheddar, things like that. You can just cut that off and carry on using it. However, if it's shredded cheddar or something like that and it's moldy, just chuck it out. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
If it's cottage cheese.
Seriously, I'm thinking if I just took it and put it, like shredded it on the pizza and then the oven, the heat kills it.
Nah, it's not really. I just don't think it's worth it. Look at it this way. If you're sitting in the emergency room, how much it's going to cost you compared to a pack of shredded cheese, you know?
Okay. And then packing lunches. I know every parent thinks about this. You get up early in the morning, you're packing a lunch like at 6 a.m. or whatever, and your child doesn't really eat until 12:30. So I always am concerned about if he's got a turkey sandwich or whatever, how long can we have that in there? Because it's not refrigerated when he's walking around.
Right. So one thing I suggest is you actually prepare it the night before. You prepare the sandwich, you put it in the fridge, let it cool down overnight, wrapped up in some kind of film. And then in the morning, I love these freezer blocks.
Yeah.
So you have them in the freezer, and if you put an elastic band on them, you can actually put the sandwich in there.
Between, okay.
And if you've got a juice box or water like that for your child, you can actually freeze that the night before and add that into the some kind of refrigerated little pack for them.
Yeah.
And pack any other cold things in there. And that'll get them till lunchtime without any trouble, even in the heat of Houston.
Yeah.
Now, if they decide they're not going to eat the lunch and they come home and you open up and it's warm, don't eat that sandwich, just bin it. Okay, it's just not worth the risk again. Okay.
All right, if people are wondering what your accent is from, you're from Scotland.
I'm from Scotland, but I'm really a native Houstonian now. I've actually lived here longer than I lived in Scotland. You know,
well, as they say, if you don't leave by 13, you still have that accent.
Right.
I was in Dunkeld, Scotland years ago, which is a town that Duncan founded. So my son was like, so Grandpa founded this town? No, honey, this is a whole other story. But anyway, thank you very much for the tips today.
You're very welcome.
And for more tips on food safety and for more information on UT Physicians, you can call 888-488-3627 or visit utphysicians.com/food safety.